Hi, this is Dr. Gayle MacBride, and I just wanted to thank you for getting all the way to the end of season 2. I hope you've enjoyed this season with all of our guests. We are busy working on season 3, so I want you to watch out for it to drop in early 2026. In the meantime, enjoy a mix of rerun episodes that have been curated for you by our intrepid host, Michael MacBride. These rerun episodes are a mix of the most listened to, the least listened to, and all of our guests. We're going to give them a repeat performance as well. So thank you for following along with us on this journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. This helps us get more listeners. And please, even though we are on a break, we are watching our mailbag. So thanks for listening and look forward to season 3 in 2026.
Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas psychology partners.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Michael MacBride, and I'm joined by our dynamic duo.
And today it is my pleasure and honor to introduce my friend, my colleague, and my business partner, whose wit is matched by his intellect, Dr. Daniel Kessler.
And when I need a thoughtful voice of reason, with an understanding of all things psychological, I go to Dr. MacBride for answers, which is why I'm happy that she is both my business partner and podcast partner. Gayle, looking forward to today and what brings us.
All right.
If you've never visited internet forums, you might not know what Am I the Asshole is. In short, someone posts a scenario and asks readers, who's the asshole here? Dan and Gayle, neither of you have seen or read this, so let's go. Today's question is, am I the asshole for bringing my own food to my best friend's wedding?
Maybe.
Wait,
you've got more.
There better be more, because I can think of so many scenarios where you're not the asshole for this.
I can think of a lot of scenarios where they're not the asshole, and I can think of a lot where they are.
For
sure.
Of course, that's probably why Michael reads these to us, though.
Right. Well, and maybe why the contributor posted it in the first place.
Right, because it should be.
Let him continue.
Personally. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So here's what she says. I've been best friends with someone, let's call her Abby, for years.
Best friends.
When she asked me to help plan her wedding last year, I was thrilled and happy for her. She's always talking about having her dream wedding since we were teenage girls and made me the promise that we would plan each other's weddings together.
This sounds like a rom-com, by the way. It also brings back, and I know you're going to read more, but I just want to tell this story just really quick. It brings back planning my own wedding. My maid of honor had a narrow food palate. And so we just ordered her what she was going to eat because it was really important that she feel included in that day. I ordered her a plate of exactly what she wanted. It was separate from anything else that we had on the menu, but it was going to make her happy. I just want to put that out there. Anyway,
is she listening?
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Find out.
Yeah, we will. But maybe we should tag her at some point.
and that honestly sounds like the right thing to do before hearing the actual "Am I the asshole?" Like, it seems like the right thing to do if someone's got some really particular food needs or a really particular palate. Being kind to them at your wedding seems correct for someone that close. But let's actually hear
hear more.
Yeah. So through the process, the one thing that we disagreed on when planning the reception was the meal plan. We went over the menu options together, but I expressed concerns about the limited choices for my dietary preferences. I'm vegetarian for personal reasons, so I suggested to have at least one dish be vegetarian. Abby understood, but ultimately chose meals that better suited the majority of her guests, as she said the cost was not worth the trouble for a dish that, quote, most people wouldn't like. I didn't try to argue because ultimately it's her wedding, but I made the joke saying that I would bring my own Tupperware of food, and she said she would kill me if I did. Fast forward to the wedding day, I decided to bring my own prepared meal because I really wasn't satisfied with the catering options. I thought it was a subtle way to address my concerns, and I did it discreetly in the kitchen of the venue. However, when Abby overheard some of her family members helping out in the kitchen of what I had done, she was deeply hurt and upset as they gossiped about it with all the guests. During the reception, she broke down in tears, feeling insulted and embarrassed by my actions. I apologized and told her it was not my intention to embarrass her, but that I've been a vegetarian for most of our friendship, and that while I was happy for her and her big day, I wasn't going to eat something that I wouldn't enjoy or want. I made a side comment saying that I should have just eaten at home out of frustration, and that seemed to upset her even more. It seemed that my attempt to express my needs ended up causing a rift between us on her special day, leaving us both feeling hurt and distant despite our long history together. Further context, so she edited and added this little bit. There was one side salad at the venue, and I did eat it during the reception to not seem rude while declining the entire food offering. During dessert, I went to the kitchen and ate my food just in time to be back in time for the toast. The only thing I ate was the cake further into the night. That being said, I didn't realize that her aunt, uncle, and cousin were going to be in the kitchen and tell the other guests that I was eating in there. So, am I the asshole?
This is interesting. And I do want to jump in and say, I can't imagine that the bride and the friend that this was the first time that they had a conversation about this friend's dietary preferences. I mean, she really is sort of dismissive of this vegetarianism and assumes that it's not going to be good or enjoyable food. And I have to imagine this is, in this long friendship, this is not the first time they've had this disagreement. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we talk about these kinds of things, people like they speak as if it's the first time they've ever had any kind of conflict, and I often wonder what the backstory is that we don't get to hear, since a person's posting in there what they think. It's also like one of the things that struck me immediately was, when you're having a big fancy catered event, like no one from your family is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So this is obviously to some degree self-catered.
Yeah, I wondered about that as well. Or even a smaller catering company that came in to do it as opposed to catering that happens at the venue of, say,
right. Which makes me curious about now we're jumping into like, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And I on all of these, I'm always like, whoa, can we get more information here? Because I want more information. That's what I would do in my office, is ask for more information,
right,
or coming to conclusions, which we don't get. But we
don't get to really draw conclusions either. I mean, let's be fair. We would facilitate a conversation between these two friends, and friend therapy is actually kind of becoming a thing. So this would be certainly a great conversation to have between these two women.
This would be a terrific conversation to have, and like somebody mentioned rom-com, like so many rom-coms, like honest, open communication could probably resolve a lot of this. Right. Earlier on, as well as respecting each other's perspectives on things. I get that I wouldn't want to tailor an entire menu around one person. At the same time, these days, many people have dietary preferences or needs. And we always want to plan every meal. For having planned some events, you always want to plan an event where everyone there is going to be able to enjoy their meal within reason.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, maybe the vegetarian option from this caterer was truly not good. I mean, we've all seen that where, you've got, let's say, a barbecue place and they have this throwaway vegetarian option, but it's not good. And it really would be a travesty to serve it.
Yeah.
And in that case, this bride is really holding on to this idea that the food has to come from this caterer, as opposed to, this friend maybe bringing something that was more palatable. And also interesting, then she breaks further down when the friend says, well, gosh, then I should have just eaten at home.
Right.
Why does the friend who's known as a vegetarian, why is it so important to the bride that this woman consume not only the food at the venue, but eat at the venue, I guess, at the table?
Right. And this,
I'm curious how important it is to this woman.
I'm not super happy with anyone here, to be honest. This is, and one of the problems we run into is that I remember this someone saying this to me years ago. Well, dad's friends, weddings and funerals. Like, emotions are so high at weddings and funerals that small slights seem to be massive, because our emotional level where like our all of our neurons are firing and everything's humming along, and there may be, especially at a wedding, there's often alcohol, and so it makes the small flights bigger. And I often warn people before a wedding, like, something's going to go to shit either before or during the wedding.
Right. No, you got to plan it. And actually, you're quite grateful when something small goes to shit, because something's going to go to shit. You've made so many plans. It is probable that something is going to fall apart. Not possible, probable.
Absolutely.
Something.
There's so many moving parts in a wedding, that something's going to go to shit. And when it goes to shit, being able to like, is this the thing that I need to be really upset about? Like, when the thing goes to shit, can I take a breath and go, this is not going to impact my life? Or will it? Like, is this really going to change the rest of my life? Is this really going to impact anything at all?
Sometimes I ask brides to be who are in my office to consider whether or not any given decision is going to be remembered by your guests in the years to come, right? They're coming there for the wedding, the union of these two people. That's lovely. And maybe not what the guests are most looking forward to, but then all of these decisions that we're making, what do they really mean in the grander scheme of things?
Right.
And keeping a little bit of perspective, because the idea is you're going to be married for decades to come. And what do you want to be remembered for? Is anyone going to remember that one of your wedding party brought her own food or didn't eat the catered option? Now, 100%. In this case, they will, because quite a big deal has been made about it.
I mean,
but had they asked that question in the beginning, I don't think that this would hit anybody's radar, because it would have just been considered normal and acceptable.
Abby, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, just they made it a thing. Abby's the bride, I think.
Abby took this thing that probably would make people go, huh, wonder why she ate in the kitchen. And she made it a thing.
Yes. Well, and to be fair, the additional family members helped make it a thing.
Sure. And that's part of that, but I also, I'm sure that it was more like, why is she eating in the kitchen? That's weird. Like, I can't imagine it being much more than your friend's kind of weird, she's eating in the kitchen. Not that would have been fair, I think, because there are people have dietary restrictions that are really, really problematic. And for people who've eaten vegetarian for most of their lives, it's not that they just prefer not to eat meat. It's as someone who eats primarily vegetarian or vegan, it can be, even when food is delicious, if it has meat, it can be hard to eat. It can be uncomfortable to eat if you're not accustomed to it. And I'm not saying that Abby is necessarily required to have an option, although it would be, I think, polite and respectful to have options available. But telling your guests that they're not allowed to eat or that they have to eat something is really problematic. Like, there are a lot better solutions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dan, before I move on to what the internet said, ultimately, where do you stand then?
I just don't think she's the asshole here. It sounds like the original poster tried to be discreet about it. She tried to tell her friend how important it is. She did her best not to make a big deal out of it. Like, she didn't bring her Tupperware to the table and pop it open and start eating right there. She kind of went discreetly. She ate the salad that she could eat or felt comfortable eating. She went and ate in the kitchen. I just having a hard time calling her an asshole. As someone who has some dietary restrictions or dietary by choice. I think she tried to do what she could given the situation, and I'm going to go with not the asshole.
And I'm going to actually take it a step further. So I don't think the original poster is an asshole. I think the bride is being an asshole. She's being a bridezilla. Absolutely. And I'm going to loop in the family. I'm going to go so far as to say the family that ratted her out we're being assholes. Because yes, they're absolutely pot stirring. I'm getting some motions from the host here. Yes, they pot stirred. We recently, the host and I recently attended a wedding and something went wrong. And I mentioned it to the bride's mother and she went, "Oh, don't tell so-and-so, don't tell the bride that this thing happened." And I thought about it and I thought, there's no reason she needs to know this, right?
Yeah.
This is her big day. And even if it's fine after the fact, I'm not going to tell her. It was her day. Let her remember it the way it was. Don't stir the effing pot, people.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Although I'm not quite ready to call the family assholes yet, because I don't know how much, like, it's not clear whether they're like, huh, that's weird, or like whether they're like, did you see her eating in the kitchen? Oh my God, that's so awful of her. So like, if it's the first one, like, yeah, that kind of thing, conversation happens all the time at weddings or events. Oh, why did he wear that? Kind of conversations, and maybe not like in the deeply appalled kind of way, why did they wear that, but more in the like, oh, that's
had it with the
curious.
bride.
Yeah,
Like with the bride's parents maybe, or someone else in the wedding party, but not with the bride.
Yeah, that's totally true. I agree with you on that much. In that situation, you tell the bride afterwards so that you don't mess with her day.
Something novel. Ask the poster who's eating in the kitchen. Hey, we're noticing you're eating here. Everything okay? Like, what's that about? Like, we will just take a direct approach.
And here's the other thing, if family is helping out, back to the family helping out in the kitchen, if family's helping out in the kitchen, why not create a plate for her?
Right.
As someone who eats vegetarian/vegan most of the time, if I'm at an event, it's not unusual for everyone else to have a different plate than me, because they've made arrangements for the vegetarians, vegans in the audience or who are attending. And everyone else has, like, steak or chicken on their plate, and they bring me out something that is vegetarian, and no one goes, oh my gosh, what is Dan eating? And they go, oh, they either don't comment or like, oh, looks like you got vegetables. I'm like, yeah, I don't eat meat. And they go, oh, okay. And that's it. That's like the end of it. Like, it is no big deal. She could have been brought the plate out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is the biggest failing. So if family was in the kitchen helping, and or the bride somehow obstructed the ability to put the preferred food on the same plate and have it at the table, whether she pick it up from the kitchen or something, she should have been able to have the meal at the table on the same plate. It should have been a non-issue if the bride wasn't going to accommodate the food choice or need.
Give her a fucking plate.
Like, if you're making so many plans that day, this one would not have hurt you to make.
No, it is so easy to add in something else. Like, and I if I'm the bride, I might say, you know what, it's really expensive to bring something vegan. My family's helping in the kitchen. If you brought your own shit, we'll put it on a plate for you, and you can eat with everyone else. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, absolutely, that'd be great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Done. Bring her a fucking plate. It's not a big deal.
I have to, this is so important, because given that they have planned their weddings together and talked about this and so intimately involved, I have to imagine that this woman was a maid of honor. I don't know that was read in the original post, but I have to imagine she has a place of honor in the wedding party.
Yeah.
So to overlook this seems extremely problematic to me.
Yeah. I hate to use to blame brides, because so much gets tied up in weddings. So I'm not willing to use the bridezilla word that you threw out, Gayle. Maybe it's
you don't have to be willing. I threw it down.
I'm not willing to go there, but I do think there was some inflexibility here that could have made this
so nicely said.
Way better.
Problematic.
All right. So what did the internet say?
Well, the internet mostly agrees with you. It was pretty universally not the asshole. There were lots of interesting comments along the way. For the most part, I'd say probably half of the people who commented not the asshole weighed in with their dietary preferences, saying, I'm vegetarian, I'm vegan, blah, blah, like all kinds of, there are so many different vegetarian options that are acceptable to a wider swath of people, whether it was a pasta or, they presented a lot of options like that.
Well, let me just say, like, my opinions here as someone who's relatively food flexible, I still agree that that should have been the option. And so I'm not even coming at this conversation as someone who, identifies as vegetarian or vegan or gluten-free. I'm pretty flexible. Prefer not to eat a lot of these things, but could. And I still think she should have this. So I don't want this to be just a bias of someone who has a food preference saying that that the bride is being the asshole or that the poster is not being the asshole. It really is coming from me, but for someone who identifies as more food flexible.
And the other people did weigh in and say, like, my preference is meat. However, there should still be alternatives. Like, and my favorite, I think, was somebody who said that they were married 30 years ago and we had a fucking vegetarian option. What the hell?
No, and what bothers me most about this is that I have noticed, as someone who chooses different food options, I have noticed more and more that I don't have to plan ahead as much as I used to have to plan ahead when I go to things. It's pretty rare these days for me not to have a reasonable food option there that doesn't involve meat at almost anything I attend these days, including weddings I've been to.
Mm-hmm.
So it really surprised me that there wasn't an option, or that they didn't, like, again, fix their fucking plate.
Right.
Like,
I mean, even at the conference we recently attended together,
you
had easy food options, and they were nutritious and filling and pretty delicious.
Yeah. It's not hard to do.
It wasn't hard.
It's not hard to provide, especially now. It's easier when you have buffet options, because you can throw out the meat. The meat can be separate, and the other things. So that which is the way they did it at this event. And it's harder when you're bringing out fixed plates for people, like at many weddings. But it can be done without difficulty, and it really could have been done in this particular case without difficulty.
Absolutely.
I will add, there was one other contingency online that was kind of interesting, which was the everyone sucks here, and the calling out the family, calling out the bride, calling out the friend, because they had that previous conversation, and the bride explicitly said, "Please don't do that," essentially, and so everybody kind of has made poor choices.
Here's the problem, and Dan, this about me, is don't identify a problem without coming up with a solution. So it fell apart when she said, "I have a problem," and the bride went, "Okay, but don't do that." There was no solution offered. The bride should have then come up with a reasonably acceptable solution. She had plenty of runway to do so.
100%. I 100% agree with that. The failure. I'm still putting the failure on the bride. Because while I could see a person saying that the original poster could have been more flexible to what the bride wanted, the reality is many weddings, especially if you're in the wedding party, you may be getting there at 6 o'clock for a wedding that takes place at 7:30 for a reception that goes until 11 o'clock at night
and even worse, you're showing up at 6 or 7 a.m. for hair and makeup. And then you were attending to, this is the girls' world, right?
Oh, yeah, I forget about that being a dude.
Yeah, well, right. So you get hair and makeup done, and then you put your dress on, and you help the bride, and then you are doing the ceremony, and then you have photos after, and maybe even before that you've got first look, and like there's all this shit going on. When during the day does she have time to swing through and pick something up for herself? She's gonna have to bring this prepared, and it's probably got to be ready early in the morning, and it's got to be ready for her to go, because she may not have eaten all day.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
All right. So we have ruled, and this time we agreed with the internet. That doesn't always happen.
This is true.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things you guys picked up on that the internet kind of hinted at but didn't quite say, which was, the friend did so much to help with the wedding preparation that it feels like this would be a pretty easy gimme, to accommodate that on a separate plate or something, even as a thank you. If you're not willing to do a whole dish, then something like that. But
absolutely.
Thank you both for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscience of the internet forums. Remember, morality is often shades of gray and not just black and white.
Truth is stranger than fiction, so stay true, stay strange.
And we've got another one of these next week. Looking forward to talking with all of you again.
Stick around through the credits for the bonus conversation about the seemingly random items in our therapist's office and the stories behind those objects.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits: Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing this show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael McBride. Intro and outro, Kelly Buttrick, a voice talent trained in reading other people's words. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children.
And as promised, here is the bonus conversation.
You got a book over your shoulder. And therapists, we all have books. I've got books behind me. It's always something important.
Right? That one or this one?
The first one. The one with
the first one.
Yeah. What is that? What the hell is that?
That is a book that uses some characters to bleep out the word fuck, right? So it's essentially how to stop freaking the fuck out. It's about anxiety, and it's a really funny, humorous take on things that you can do when breathing just doesn't work when you're having a panic attack. And it's got some great suggestions in there, like take a cold shower, removing clothing optional, chase a squirrel, but don't catch it because it might have rabies. So it's kind of a humorous take and giving some ideas of things that you can do when you cope with panic. And I thought it was pretty funny. And it was actually written by a relatively local psychotherapy practice and published. And I thought, what a way to support another therapy practice.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I may want to look at that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Tune in next week for more excitement. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Veritas Views on AITA. Please share.